And it feels nice to be vindicated. I'm not gonna lie. This is a great feeling.
It is nice. It's like a nice pat in the back, like you were right, like a whisper in the ear.
Yeah, I know, bro. You was on the right direction with that one. But here's the worst part about it, though. You almost wanted to be wrong.
I swear. And it doesn't help us in the future. They're still going to call us conspiracy theorists when we're the first of things anyway.
Yeah, it's always going to happen like that.
Beyond the mainstream media and the public education system, which is making everybody dumb. So for those of you guys who have not read Chaos yet and are not a member of our book club, we are going to take you down the JFK rabbit hole, the beginning of it. Welcome back to Candace.
And guys, you can super chat in any question, comments, jokes, or disagreements. We'll go ahead and interact with it and go ahead and put it to the top of the screen. We appreciate the support, guys. Let's keep it going. Like I said, super chat in not only keeps the stream going, but it's a great way to interact. Let's go. But if not, double tap that screen and like the video.
All right, guys, the JFK files have been cracked open. What does it mean? Well, what it means right now is that if you are a Jewish American citizen, it is really high time for you guys to understand that you are under no obligation to keep defending the state of Israel, okay? Anti-Semitism.
Exactly, bro. Because you know what's so crazy? When I was even watching this getting dropped on PBD, bro, that boy Adam was hushed. That boy was hushed. For the first time, this man ain't had nothing to say because it's like, dog, I ain't gonna lie, your country's hands is all over the assassination of our president. And it's over here in clear documentation, dog. You have nothing to say.
You're in silence.
Bro sat there with just like, okay, you know, all right.
You ain't never heard Adam Sosnick say nothing.
Bro, especially when you start bringing up Jews.
Man.
Or Israel. It's like,
I feel like no funny shit. I feel like every Jew inherently feels like they got to defend Israel and their country whenever somebody brings it up.
And I get it. I get it, honestly, but it's kind of like how we feel about America. Every time we do some shicey stuff or Trump says something, we're like, bro, we're going to defend our actions, especially when these other countries start judging us about Ukraine or tariffs. We're going to be like, well, no, we're not funding Ukraine. And yeah, you're going to stop screwing us over on our trade deal.
Is not happening when people judge the foreign state of Israel. We have to say that right at the top. Right? I should make everybody right now just get up and do the Pledge of Allegiance, like old-fashioned style, like you're just in your 5th grade classroom. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, not under Israel, not under blackmail, okay? Like, we're all the same. We are Americans. And the only reason that you have that instinct, especially Jewish Americans, is because there's this existential crisis that has been ingrained in you since your youth. Like, you have been indoctrinated to believe that supporting that state is existential, really. Like, you're going to die if you don't. And we all have those things. It's cool. We've all been indoctrinated in some way or another in our youth. And that's kind of the social engineering of the classroom to make us.
Yeah, like same thing with the black community. Like, we've been indoctrinated to protect the worst of the worst.
Man.
I mean, we're indoctrinated to protect the people who go out there and lie, and steal from our community. We're indoctrinated to champion the women who are, very promiscuous and bad influences on other women in our community. It's like, bro, yes.
To a degree, it's widely accepted, even promoted.
Bro, even our professionals are pretty much taught to champion and defend this. And they knowing damn well it's detrimental to our community.
Yep.
So
the worst part about it is they don't personally do the activity that they're promoting too sometimes.
So honestly, Israel, when it comes to Israelis, like, we feel y'all. We feel y'all in that regard. It's like y'all being taught to defend something that's, indefensible.
It's really fearful. It's the reason why women are like, I support Planned Parenthood because I think men are going to take my ovaries if I don't. And then you kind of get older and you're like, wait a second, that doesn't really make any sense. Why do I fear the patriarchy? It's just a fear-based education system. Anyways, let's get to the beginning of it, really, and kind of make you understand where the conspiracy theorists were coming from since before these files got released. Okay, so we all know what happened on November 22nd, 1963. JFK was shot. President JFK was shot sitting alongside his wife in a vehicle that was traveling through the streets of Dallas. Now, it is important before we get into that you have a historical understanding of some other facts. Before Kennedy was elected president, Eisenhower was president. And right before Eisenhower left office, he warned the American public that a shadow was building, a shadow government, so to speak, was building in the background. He referred to it as a military-industrial complex. I want you to take a close listen to his words here.
We annually spend on military security alone more than the net income of all United States corporations.
Damn.
Now, this conjunction of an immense
Wow, it's like all of our top corporations paling, like, don't even compare it to what we spend in in military spending. Like, bro, what the fuck? Like, huh? And that just goes to show, it's like, bro, there's a lot of money that got taken away from the people that's been put into, honestly, just war.
Honestly, you're right.
Yeah,
to
war.
Fund the American military industrial complex.
Yep, so we can sell weapons to other countries so they can continue their war. Or we can proxy on other countries so we can not only fund their war but benefit off it. It's like
they always said, war is big business.
It is, but it's the wrong business,
man.
Immense military establishment and a large arms industry is new in the American experience. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development, yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our...
Oh, my bad. It's kind of eerie. I mean, he almost had a premonition. He's seen it for what it was. It was kind of like, if I can compare it to, what's my man that made the atomic bomb? Oppenheimer. When he made the atomic bomb, he warned the military, like, yeah, I made this, but honestly, where nuclear technology is headed, it could be detrimental to the world. So I don't know. I'm comparing it to this speech. It's like Eisenhower's seen something.
Yeah, he kind of seen where we were going with it. He's like, hold on, bro. It's like, why is all this money going into military spending? I'm like, hold on, dog. I mean, do we want to go into war? Like, we've lost millions of lives off war. It's almost like we're trying to fund like American lives being taken.
Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, it's like, bro, if anything, we should be funding American prosperity. We should be funding our economy, but instead we're funding war. Like, if I was him, I'd be looking at this, like, trying to warn people too. Like, hey, yo, look, man, look, I'm on the way out, but let me tell y'all something right now. Like, for some reason, we care more about blowing people up than making sure our people prosper, and we need to check this. And if y'all don't check this, you're not gonna like where we're at in the next 20 years. And he wasn't. I mean, well, really, next.
Do y'all like where we at?
Yeah.
Like,
was he wrong? Do y'all
like where we at?
Are we in a good spot with this? Man.
Or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security and liberty may prosper together.
So he's giving this warning, and it's interesting because obviously many of us were not alive during this time. Many of us who were alive during this time certainly wouldn't maybe recall that speech, but he's saying that this is new. Like, this idea of America always being at war is new, and it's not new to us. It's just like, we can't stop being at war in the Middle East, Ukraine. It's like a game of whack-a-mole. Like, the military-industrial complex is obviously real and it exists, and we refer to this now as the deep state. And you should know that when JFK became president thereafter, he was explicitly against war. You have to understand, he too agreed that there was no need for us to be engaged in never-ending war. We're supposed to win World War II. And it turns out that there was something operating in the background that didn't really want that. And so Eisenhower's warning that these people could have undue influence, whatever this magic force is in the background, could have undue influence on American policy. And Kennedy gets in office and he's like, I'm not about this war. Take a listen to what he had to say at American University. This speech was given on June 10th, 1963, just a few months before he was assassinated.
God damn.
I realize the pursuit of peace is not as dramatic as the pursuit of war. And frequently the words of the pursuers fall on deaf ears.
Not as profitable.
But we have no more urgent task. Some say that it is useless.
It's like war is almost like curing a disease. Like, all right, we could be at war with peace, but I mean, we can't make no money on that. I mean, we could cure cancer, but we can't make no money on that.
best to just prolong the problem. I'll say, yeah, medicine that kind of treats your issue.
Never really cures you, so you'll always come back. I mean,
Little Band-Aid.
yeah, I don't know. It is a bit wild how we kind of just hinge on the fact that we can never achieve world peace. Therefore, these weapon companies will prosper. It's like, why do we even have why are we even have private weapon companies? Like, all weapon companies should kind of be, I don't know, this sounds a bit wild, but some of these weapon companies should be aligned in with their government, should be part of like a government department. Because
and then just to make a point, this is a simple concept to understand. War begats more war.
yeah.
I mean, there's always a loser, and you got to understand. I mean, there's obviously, or for context, there's a real world scenario going on right now where there's just been a 100-year war.
Boy, and here's the like iron glide hypocrisy of us. It's like we get mad about people from having arms dealers, private arms dealers. We got corporate dealers. It's like I always just say, I'm like, hold on, who the hell are we to go after these arms dealers when we got arms dealers ourselves? Actually, we got the richest arms dealers in the world. Who are we to judge?
Just to speak of peace or world law or world disarmament, and that it will be useless until the leaders of the Soviet Union adopt a more enlightened attitude. I hope they do. I believe we can help them do it. But I also believe that we must re-examine our own attitudes as individuals and as a nation, for our attitude is as essential as theirs.
So the question that we should ask is, why is it that as soon as you begin speaking about JFK, people refer to you as a conspiracy theorist? And in particular, you will notice that there are these Zionist accounts that freak out before they even know what you're going to say. So what is it about JFK's assassination that triggers Zionists? Why do they pretend that it's an act of anti-Semitism to explore the environment and the things that JFK was adamantly opposed to?
You know, so crazy. Like, I would think Americans will learn by now. Like, we don't want to go into war. Why? Because one, we get tricked into war most of the time. And then two, we have our soldiers going to war. They get damn near like, I mean, not decimated. We win. We do our thing, but the psychological damage, the physical damage,
the casualties sustained.
Yeah, it's not really worth it. And then, bro, and then these people come back and we don't even want to support their ass. We don't even want to support the people we just threw into the fire. We don't even want to support them. They come back, they did their service to us, and we're telling them too bad on benefits.
They're like second-class citizens. It's actually shameful.
I mean, nothing was worse than what the Vietnam guys came home to. They came home to being villains. That was downright disrespectful. I mean,
half a leg, and then the citizens turned their back on them.
Oh God, I almost said, what was the point of even going into this war if we were going to turn our back on our own damn people? Like, what was the point?
You got somebody in the chat who said he's a combat vet. Like, he wouldn't wish this shit upon his worst enemy.
Exactly. I wouldn't want to wish this against nobody. So it's just like, bro, let's just all chill with this war agenda and let's just step back as Americans and let these people handle it.
I'm going to describe that to you, and I'm going to use only Jewish sources here, so we can remove ourselves from any claims of anti-Semitism. These are just the facts of what JFK was fighting while he was in office, okay? One of the things that he was opposed to was the American Zionist Council. He wanted them, which would go on to become AIPAC. We're still having a discussion about AIPAC's undue influence in our elections today. They were back then known as the American Zionist Council, and JFK's Department of Justice told them that they had to register as a foreign agent under FARA, okay? Now, I'm going to slow that down for you because many of you probably don't even know what FARA is. It stands for the Foreign Agents Registration Act. It requires that any person or business entity that is accepting money from or acting as an agent to a foreign government must register with the Department of Justice. Now, you would have to, that means file reports. You'd have to detail your compensation. You have to detail your expenditures, your communications. Essentially, the reason for that is obvious, so that we as Americans know that we are being influenced.
And guys, do me a favor, man, and double tap that screen and like the video, man. We're still cooking on this one, or hit the 3 dots up there to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate the support, guys, but let's get the likes up, get more people in on the conversation.
By agents of another government. I personally wish that we would also be able to see this in terms of like right away knowing when people are lobbying that they would have to announce that we are lobbying on behalf of Big Pharma and we accept money from them. They don't have to do that, right?
Really?
And so it would color your imagination, obviously. If I'm saying all these things and you find out that I'm registered under FARA for a foreign country like Ukraine, you would go, okay, well, that makes sense. Candace is telling me that we should go to war with Ukraine, but I now know that Candace is actually accepting tens of millions of dollars from Ukraine. That's the purpose of FARA registration. So when the American Zionist Council came into fruition in 1949, they were lobbying on behalf of the newly formed foreign state of Israel, okay? And the JFK said, you guys now need to register under FARA. Now, again, I've explained why that would be important, because it would change the way that you understood the news that was coming to you. You essentially would understand you were listening to a commercial. And sometimes you wonder, when you see all these influencers, you're like, who's funding them? That natural question of who is funding them. It would be infinitely more important if you knew that it was somebody, it was a foreign country overseas. So we're going to take a look at the lead up to JFK's assassinations and his dealings with the Zionist group that he was trying to get to register under FARA. Look at this website, okay? This website, and I wouldn't have a top of this. I want to know, Skylar, if you don't mind actually showing the Israel Lobby Archive. Okay, So I'm going to take you through just a timeline, and you can actually click and see these documents. These are documents that are published publicly. They all actually exist. And I'm going to take you through the relevant things leading up to the year of the communications that his Department of Justice, JFK's Department of Justice, had with the AZC saying, hey, you need to register as a foreign agent. So we'll go back a year before his assassination on October 31st, 1962. You can see that the Assistant Attorney General and the Director of Internal Security, who was J. Walter Yeagley, notifies Attorney General R.F. Kennedy that we are soliciting next week the registration of the American Zionist Council under the Foreign Agents Registration Act. You may be aware that the American Zionist Council...
The American Zionist Council is crazy. Like, way to just be outright with it. Just be like, look, man, we're all about Israel, all for Israel, but guess what? We don't have to let you know where our allegiance are. I'm just like, well, but that's a little bit off, because if you're going to be going ahead and trying to push for policies in this government, I believe I should know who's filling your pockets or who you align with. That is crazy how they kind of had that protection, because I'm pretty sure a lot of things probably wouldn't have went past the American people if we knew it was coming from a, well, Zionist perspective. Not saying that all Zionists are bad. I'm just saying that, the perspectives just don't align with the American first perspective. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
Council is composed of representatives of the various Zionist organizations in the United States, including the Zionist Organization of America. Excuse me. So there were a bunch of different organizations. They were all lobbying on behalf of Israel. And they were like, we're going to obviously pursue this. On November 21st, 1962, this is again like almost exactly a year before he gets assassinated, the Department of Justice ordered them, the AZC, to register under FARA. And there was a receipt of such funds from the American section of the Jewish Agency for Israel, constitutes the council. And essentially they were like, you absolutely must register. Your request is happening. And Sky, I don't know if you've actually pulled any of these documents in, but if not, it's okay. We'll keep going down the timeline. Now, on December 6th of that same year, the president of AZC was a guy named Rabbi Irving Miller, and he responded to the Department of Justice, and he wrote this: the request for registration contained in your letter raises many questions of fact and of relationships, which first must be resolved by us before compliance can be made. Therefore, it is requested that you be good enough to grant us a delay of 120 days. Immediately already stunning, okay? The Department of...
Hey, yo, can you imagine you as a president pretty much saying that, yeah, I need you guys to register under FARA, and they're being like, yeah, give us 120 days on that. Bro, hold on, bro. I'm the effing president. I told you to do it now. You're telling me, yeah, no.
Hold your horses.
Hold your horses there, Mr. President. 120 days. Who the fuck is y'all? Who is y'all?
Justice is saying to you in a letter, you need to register as a foreign agent. And you have the rabbi who's leading this group who says, your request is a little... We're going to need some time actually to chew over that request, and you'll understand we need 120 days, okay? So within that 120-day time frame, they decided to officially incorporate AIPAC. On January 2nd, 1963, a man named Isaiah Kennan incorporated AIPAC instead. And then the AZC council went back to the DOJ and it essentially said, like, you know, we're not ready actually to register, but now we have a new organization. It's known as APAC. And if you follow,
they strong arming the government. They telling them what's up. They said, like, look, we need y'all to register. They say, like, nah, you got to give us 120 days.
Yeah, and
they came back and said, like, nah, and then, you know what? Matter of fact, we're not even going to register in the
120 days. Actually, we're
the customary way. We're never going to do it in the way that you want us to do it.
Actually, we're just going to hit you with a name change, and then say you should go with it. We're going to go with a name change, and that's it.
Oh man, they was having a way.
So what? To the American Zionist stuff, to the APAC we know today, like.
So you can see the influence, damn near control they had on the government at that time. It was insane. They was gonna do whatever they wanted, and they was gonna show it. They was gonna prove it.
Bro, they told the president, "Give us 120."
Like, hold your horses, sit on your hands, Playboy.
I ain't gonna lie, if I was the president, that'd piss me off.
Hey yo,
I'd be like, "Who is this small group of people telling me to hold the hell up?" What?
And it probably did, and you see what happened.
Yeah, he probably did buck at him, man. See what happened after that. But guys, go ahead and double tap that screen and like the video, man. We got over 50 y'all in here, man. So let's go ahead and get 50 likes. Let's get more people on the conversation, man. If you have any questions, comments, jokes, disagreements, $2 and up, we'll go ahead and engage with it and put it to the top of the screen. Appreciate the support, guys.
And it's crazy to be able to admit that openly. Like, JFK pissed the wrong people off and they killed his ass. Like, for the longest, this was a popular conspiracy theorist, and it was almost taboo to say out loud. But we're really sitting in the modern day, 2025, where we can openly say, like, yeah, he got off for fucking with the wrong people or fucking with people with too much control.
Yeah, now we're just wrapping our head around it.
Along on this timeline. So then you start to see that he incorporates, that's on January 2nd, 1963, Isaiah incorporates the American Israel Public Affairs, like I said, APAC community in Washington, D.C. And then the day after, on January 24th, 1963, a couple of weeks after pardon, the DOJ draft file memo, they essentially say that they met with the AZC head counsel and he had advised his client to just discontinue the previous agency as AZC. And they were like, we hope that that resolves the issue. Like, basically, we are a new incorporated APAC and that should resolve the issue. And essentially the DOJ said, no, that actually doesn't resolve the issue. And we're still going to need you to register, essentially saying, we need your expenditures. We need to know who's funding you guys, where this money is coming from. And we're not going to change our opinion on that. And they were still fighting him. They still were fighting and going, we're not going to give that to you whatsoever. What you have taking place there on January 25th, 1963, is you start to see these articles that start building in the press. And so they started creating a peer pressure campaign, essentially saying, and this is like a direct quote from the Wall Street Journal, that if they had gone through with this, if they kept demanding for the AZC to have to reveal to them their expenditures and who was funding them, that Jewish opinion would be bad for the DOJ. Like that
the Jewish opinion, pretty much are saying that, yo, if we let you know who's funding us, the Department of Justice is not going to look at us too kindly. And I'm like, well, no shit. Pretty much are saying, yeah, let us hide our crime. Pretty much, like, yes, we're basically committing a crime or basically getting funded by some sources
we need y'all to look
you wouldn't agree
way.
with. But yeah, we need you to look the other way, pretty much.
Imagine that.
You're like, don't look over here, man.
The American Jewish opinion was going to be bad, so they shouldn't go through with this. This was actually happening. And incredibly, even Donald Rumsfeld, who was a congressman at that time, wrote to the DOJ and said, I'm concerned that if you keep pushing this matter, then the Jewish Zionist opinion is going to transform in America. Absolutely wild. Like, this is the Department of Justice telling you to register.
Yeah, pretty much. They're pretty much saying, like, yo, if we're telling you guys to register under the president's orders, you're telling us hold up, and then your excuse is, well, bro, like, what you mean? The Jewish sentiment is going to change in America if we go ahead and release this to you. And we're like, bro, hold on. What's so crazy that y'all are saying that the entire Jewish people are going to look crazy if you give this to us? Yeah, like, shh, don't worry about it.
Don't even worry about that, big dog. Just move on. Move on. You ask too many questions, then we got to do something about it.
Yeah, you get by.
And now you are essentially lobbying politicians.
Bro, literally probably hit that man if we tell you, you know what we got to do, right?
Like,
and you're lobbying journalists to start writing these articles and to essentially seed into the American mind and to seed into the political mind that this request is inappropriate. It's entirely inappropriate because how dare you ask us to register? That doesn't make any sense. Don't you understand that we're Jewish and this isn't going to look good for you? That you can literally go to this website and look through the filings and look through the newspaper clippings. And this is the reality. There was a peer pressure campaign, not unlike what we see today. When I speak about AIPAC and I speak about these journalists who act like hitmen.
Hey guys, make sure to like the video. Make sure to like the video, guys. Go ahead and double tap that screen for me or hit the 3 dots up there in the corner. Appreciate the support, guys. What you about to say, big dog?
It's so crazy. Like, they try to get them to register as any other foundation would have to, and immediately the media narrative was, oh, they're anti-Semitic.
So anytime you try to get
the government
told these guys. They told these guys.
The leading administration at the time.
And it's not even, we're not even telling them to do nothing crazy, but register under FARA. So
we
got transparency.
That's
right?
all we need y'all to do. Everybody else has to do the same thing.
Yeah. So, but
standard.
Everybody else got to be transparent with y'all.
You know, if you ask us to do this, you know what that means, right?
I mean, what? Who are? That's what I'm saying. Like, bro, who do y'all think y'all are?
Oh, we're the American Zionist Council.
Like, do you know we secretly control your government?
Like, you don't say. Well, I'll be damned. Either register or I don't know. I guess don't have any access.
Damn.
And you see what happened to them.
And if you don't acquiesce to whatever it is the state of Israel wants, they are out there calling you Hitler, anti-Semitic. They've got all of these influencers on an orbit online who we can assume are receiving money in some capacity, but we'll never know because AIPAC is now a 501c3 and they never had to register as FARA, but they did this right in the beginning. And guess what? FARA came back and said, we don't care. We can bring that up that timeline. FARA came back and said, we don't care. Okay, that's not going to change anything. You are actually going to still have to register. It doesn't matter how many press articles are written. We are going to interpret this according to the law and not according to the feelings of Jewish Zionists in America.
You're pretty much saying that, oh, well, you're going to make us, you're anti-Semitic for wanting this. You're anti-Semitic for wanting transparency. And they're just standing on saying, like, I don't care.
You're going to do it or else. Again, you're not going to have any access to the government. You're not going to be able to lobby.
Yeah, and then, bro, and everybody in FARA's like,
we do not care.
Like, literally, we do not care. Bro, you're going to register or else.
So they were at odds.
Man.
And so they go on, and you go back through this timeline, and it gets more and more aggressive. And finally, what happens is
I think that this compounded and literally spilled over and ended up culminating in JFK's assassination. It's honestly insane with all the context we now know. And shout out Droning in the Scenery, $2. They, them, are Mossad media agent, USAID. Ooh.
Oh, man.
Ooh.
And shout out my man Droning in the Scenery for starting us off, man.
My man. They did say we was funding some woke bullshit with that USAID.
Man.
Some shit nobody had any idea about, by the way. You can't sit here and tell me you knew that we were funding LGBT comic books and musicals in Serbia and shit.
Yeah, and all that good stuff. Sesame Street in Iran. I mean, reproductive aid to Gaza.
Can't sit here and tell me you knew that off the back of your hand. So
even though it was public information.
Right.
But here's the thing, though. It's supposed to be our Congress is supposed to want to make that public for us.
Should have published it. Should have really let us know what the hell they're spending the money on.
Should have stood on C-SPAN and talked about it.
Just like they do everything else.
That Hoover, who was heading up the FBI at that time, says, do you want me to get involved? Is it time now for us to swoop in as the FBI and essentially say, you register or else? Like, are we at the point now essentially where we need to make arrests? And they're getting very serious about this because they had already ordered for them to register within 10 days. And they still declined to do it. They still did not move whatsoever. And so they're sort of mulling this over. Like, should we get the feds involved at a higher level? Should we get the FBI involved rather? And suddenly, FARA comes back as well and says, like, we absolutely think that we should get them involved. Then you see this like measly attempt from the AZC Council to say, well, will it suffice if we show you our income statements? And FARA says, absolutely not. This is absurd. Right. This is a year on now, again, leading up to Kennedy's death. And you can see there on October 11th.
That is wild. They're pretty much saying, like, look, bro, we don't want to register to have full transparency. How about we can give you our own financial records? Like, pretty much saying, like, how about this? We'll pretty much give you what we're going to show you.
Yeah.
Bro,
you guys be all right with that, right?
And even Farah was like, dog, bro, that's crazy. We're not going to trust you to do that. It's either full transparency or, bro, you just don't get the lot.
Deal, no deal.
Yeah. And let's be real, if we was able to get them under Farah, I don't think we'd have got into that. Well, I mean, we wouldn't have got into that Iranian war.
That's pretty much defined our relationship with Zionists and Israel since then.
Yeah, because it's like, bro, we never been able to expose where these ideals came from because they never have to register under Farah. So we're just thinking that this is coming from, I guess, our American politicians that are also gun-ho for Israel, and really their pockets are being filled by AIPAC, and AIPAC never have to describe where their money's coming from, which is
provides the donors a layer of anonymity, security.
Yeah, which you shouldn't have, honestly, in America.
For real. I mean, especially if you're deeply influencing legislation in the most biggest country on the face of the earth,
Yeah, it's wild.
It's kind of weird, but shout out Jordan in the Scenery, another $2. He said if you were listening to Alex Jones circa 2000, oh yeah, Alex Jones been on that wave.
Man, oh God. But here's the thing though, Alex Jones never wanted to talk about the Israel problem. Or not the problem, but
the Jewish question.
Yeah, the Jewish question, the Israeli connection. He never wanted to talk about it. That's the problem. Actually, just now with Ian Carroll, that was the first time I've seen Alex Jones literally spill over into the Jewish connection between like the Epstein and JFK. It was the first time I actually seen him like recognize it.
Yeah.
But then again, when it's so in your face, what else can you do?
He was speaking at, I will give him credit though, because he was speaking at it at the time I was referencing, like where it was taboo, like where if he said something like that, they were like, what are you talking about? It was John, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They gave you like the story that the media story, like, and that was it. You couldn't go outside of that. You couldn't defer from that, or you were literally called fringe.
And shout out Jordan in the Scenery. Now, you can go ahead and super chat any question, comments, disagreement, or jokes. $2 and up. We'll go ahead and read it out loud and interact with it and post to the top of the screen, just like our man Jordan in the Scenery, man. Shout out to my dog. Gotta be more like him, man. Let's keep it going.
1963, the DOJ demands for AZC to register. The department expects a response from you within 72 hours with regards to this matter. And then you can see on the 17th that Walter Yeagley noted of a DOJ AZC a meeting that they essentially said they were making a plea for no registration, stating it was the opinion of most of the people that were affiliated with the council that such a registration would be so publicized by the American Council on Judaism that it would eventually destroy the Zionist movement. Now, I want you to think about that. If all you have to do to be, like, it's not a crime, you can be a foreign agent, right? If all you have to do once you become registered under FARA is to reveal your expenditures, reveal how you are being funded, allow people to understand where you are getting this money from, why would they be this opposed to it? A year on, using lawyers, calling judges to get involved, trying to persuade the public, trying to essentially cause a smear campaign and saying that it's going to radically shift Jewish opinion, that it's going to put the Zionist movement on pause. What would it have plausibly revealed if they had done that? I don't know the answer to this. I'm never going to know the answer to this, because what we do know is that a couple of weeks later, JFK got shot. Okay. Now, if you're instantly connecting the dots and going, oh, well, of course, it must have been a Zionist who did this, I think that would be a little bit too far of a stretch. But when you compare the policies of JFK, who did not want them to be funded, and what was running parallel to this, of course, was that he was on the phone arguing, screaming, having fights with Prime Minister Ben-Gurion of Israel, because he also did not want Israel as a state to become nuclearly armed. Okay. And they're fighting on the phone. They still won't declare.
Sounds like there was a serious power struggle going on. He said she said a screaming match on the phone with the prime minister.
Yeah. Yeah, there was going, bro, because dude, Kennedy was low-key pretty pissed at him. He was like, dog, I said y'all can't have nukes. Y'all got our protection, you have our funding, and now you want nukes as well? Because you try to go up top with Egypt and you lost. So now you figured out you need nukes. Now you want nukes. No, you can't have nukes. You know what they did? They built their own nuclear facility. They found a way to steal a bomb. They got their nukes now. So that's what JFK was going like, bro. I'm getting intel that you guys are making a nuclear facility. I told you no. I see the goddamn pictures of it. You're telling me no. It's like a screaming match. It's almost like the prime minister was lying to his face.
Like, bro, we have the intel. Like, come on now. You don't think we know?
Yeah. And then he's like, but then this whole FARA situation, he's like, and y'all don't want to register with FARA. Who the hell are y'all? I'm pretty sure he was at his wit's end with them.
So a power struggle, a major power struggle. It sounds like Israel was vying for dominance in this relationship. And again, it just spilt over.
And you know the scary part? JFK was kind of starting to see the control they had. It's like, dog, how the hell y'all got control to my own government? I'm like, bro, there's people sticking up for y'all motherfuckers.
I'm supposed to be calling the shots, and there's people over here sticking their neck out for y'all within my own cabinet.
And then I'd be pissed because RFK Jr. was for the American people, and we got people in his cabinet around him that are sticking out more for the nation of Israel than the American people.
Hell no, man.
I'd be offended. I would personally be offended.
I'd be enraged. You're probably right. There was intense screaming matches on the phone. That would be something that I would be willing. The hill that I die on as a president.
Yeah.
Classify these arguments that he was having, but they absolutely were.
Shout out, Tatted Up. I guess he finally got that super chat working. He said $5. He had too much to say. He just wanted to show some support. But if you didn't have something to say, go ahead and send it in the chat. I'll go ahead and catch it for you, big dog.
At each other's throats, and they hated each other. Sure. And he was very opposed to the Dimona reactor. This is something that you can even find in speeches like the Gaddafi speech, when he speaks about what really happened to JFK. Everybody knows that he was strongly opposed to Israel and nuclear armament. He kind of just leaves that out there. When you add those two things together, you go, okay, well, would it be a conspiracy to suggest that Ben-Gurion and the state of Israel hated him, and he was opposed to them, and he was opposed to them getting funding, and he was opposed to them having undue influence in American politics, and then he dies? And then you weigh that against the fact that the problem for them instantly disappeared as soon as JFK died. Because what happened was that when Lyndon B. Johnson got into office, he was the vice president, all of their problems.
Not they staged a coup within the American government. They took out the leadership they didn't like, and the guy that was friendly towards their position got in.
And we're about to find out some shocking things about Lyndon B. Johnson. I mean, PPD was kind of going off on the topic of it. And then they showed a recording of a conversation that these two, political figures had about Lyndon B. Johnson. They was pretty much saying like, yo, Lyndon B. Johnson did not care. This man was about himself. He'd have done anything to become president, even if it did mean selling out our government to Israel. He would do it if it meant he'd be president.
Who's not to say they contacted him beforehand, made him aware to what the plan was,
and be like, bro, we'll make you president.
Made him pro-Israel. Pretty much converted him full Zionist, and then got JFK out the way and inserted him in. A true coup inside the American government.
And what around town is that his wife was dead, so he was already kind of aligning with it.
Bro, the plot deepens. It grows thicker. The conspiracy grows.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, bro.
God damn.
It's almost like, and I know it's going to sound crazy when I say this, but it's almost like Israel then had a personal espionage on the American people or on the American government, made sure their women got in with top officials in our government. Because if you really look back at it, and in other governments, because what they said, Mussolini's wife might have been Jewish, Stalin's wife might have been Jewish.
They do say the best spy is female.
Yeah, so
for obvious reasons.
It does seem like there's been a big espionage campaign on our government, and it's through their women, allegedly.
Subversive.
Instantly resolved because he reversed course on everything.
Like
what is interesting is that LBJ essentially employed the exact opposite policies of JFK. He was fundamentally pro-war, Vietnam, Cambodia, the bombing campaigns. And it didn't come out until quite recently that he helped Israel get established as a state by secretly helping to transport weapons, exactly what JFK was against, exactly what Eisenhower before him was against. He secretly helped to transport weapons to Israel while he was in Congress. Now, don't take my word for it. If I said that fact, it would be anti-Semitic, right? Let's take that fact instead from the Israeli newspaper Haaretz. This is literally an Israeli publication. They publish daily. They wrote, quote, this article you can see is entitled, Lyndon Johnson, Israel has had no better friend. Historians generally regard Johnson as the president most uniformly friendly to Israel. And then it says, after John F. Kennedy was killed and Lyndon Johnson became the 36th president, LBJ told an Israeli diplomat, you have lost a very great friend, but you have found a better one. Indeed, it was Johnson as a Senate majority.
That's cold for we knocked them off, but don't worry, we got our guy in there.
You got us now, man. It's like, look, man, JFK was cool, but trust me, bro.
Lyndon B. Johnson,
that boy bending the knee for us, bending over backwards for us. Trust me, it's all about Israel. Trust me, we basically got a Zionist in it. We basically got one.
Majority leader who stood in the way years earlier of Dwight Eisenhower's plans to cut off assistance to Israel. Okay, I'm quoting this from the article. It's not from me. So we now know that while he was in Congress, he stood in the way of Eisenhower.
Some of these Chicago niggas would do. They claim the body.
Yeah. They're like, yeah, we took that boy out.
We did it. What you mean?
Like, of course.
I know how we get down.
You trying to stop the agenda, trying to stop the money. Couldn't have that happen.
Bro, that was some Chirac shit. Like, we did it.
Who wanted to cut off assistance to Israel. Okay. And now we're understanding that he reversed his course on JFK's policy when he becomes the president. It goes on to say he knew few Jews growing up in Texas, but cultivated lifelong friendships as he rose through the ranks of the Democratic Party, which had become the natural political home for most Jews. Historians generally regard Johnson as the president most uniformly friendly to Israel. Johnson was the first president to invite an Israeli prime minister, Levi Eshkol, on a state visit. They got along.
Fuck bending the knee. He sounded like he bent over for them boys in Israel. Like,
hold on. How'd you go from?
Bro, he getting published about how pro-Israeli No, you don't get that status. You don't get that. You don't get that. Just that glorification just for no reason.
No, how did we go from us having yelling matches on the phone with their leader to inviting this man over for I don't know, like a good time, trumpets. Like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, we went from having
customary visits and
that's
shit.
what I'm saying. Like, we went to screaming on the phone with this man to sitting him down and being like,
"Come on over.
So what can we do for you,
man?" Put that man in news publications and say he's the best.
He's a hero.
You don't get that status just off of, like you said, just for no reason.
Yeah, bro.
So well, both men were farmers, that Johnson paid Eshkol the rare compliment of inviting him to his ranch. LBJ soon abandoned pressure on Israel to come clean about the Dimona reactor. He increased arms sales to Israel, and in 1968, after Israel's supplier, France, imposed an embargo as a means of cultivating ties in the Arab world, the United States became Israel's main supplier of weapons, notably launching the talks that would lead to the sale of Phantom fighter jets to Israel. Okay, so he was completely committed to the state of Israel.
You know what did make me wonder, like, because somebody said that we fund Israel for them to have a good air force, but they got a terrible ground game. I mean, like, that's why they never went into Israel on a surgical precision, because they knew Gaza, because everybody was saying that they would lose an on ground fight. I'm like, what? Israel? He's like, yeah, they was actually go in there with a Hamas and take them up top. In Gaza's territory, I could see why. Because it'd be like America stepping into Vietnam. This is their territory.
Yeah, they do have the advantage territorially. You're right.
Yeah, so that's why they kind of like bombarded them from the sky, because they honestly, Israel wasn't going to see them, or allegedly Israel couldn't see them on the ground.
Sure. But
that's the excuse. I feel like, come on now.
Don't they outnumber them at least?
Yeah, I mean, bro,
they have the force, they have the military technology.
Yeah, we have all that for a surgical strike, but I mean, that's how that's how Israeli news was painting it.
They have military tech that they have floor detonating bombs on a ground level, so they can go in and do the same thing essentially, but not from raining down bombs in the sky.
Yeah. I mean, come on. Hey, they definitely you lose less lives raining bombs down from the sky than actually stepping foot on there. And this to be real, they actually cared about not taking out so many women and children. That's what they'd have done. They'd have put boots on the ground. They'd have liberated these women and children, not bomb them. But it is what it is.
And if you're beginning to ask questions about, okay, why would that be? What could have been his background? Well, interestingly enough, it turns out that his aunt Jessie, and again, we will pull this up in the Jerusalem Post, we will pull this up in the Times of Israel, but his aunt Jessie Hatcher was a member of the Zionist organization. And it has been speculated, not by me, okay, but by Rabbi Shmuel Golden, that LBJ himself came from a maternal line of Jews.
That's probably the hardest Jewish name I've ever heard, Rabbi Shmuel Golden. That's a cool Jewish name. I'll give it to that guy.
Now, his family dates back to the 1848ers, which were a bunch of communists who tried unsuccessfully to overthrow Germany. And then they all came to Texas and settled in Texas and Kansas and all throughout the United States, including the Pfizer family. But pulling this back up, this is the opinion of Rabbi Shmuel, who apparently looked into it. And this is a blog written by Richard Chasman on the Times of Israel. He writes, you can bet the ranch that Bernie Sanders will not be elected as the first Jewish president, but he might be the second. Who was the first Jewish president? LBJ, Lyndon Baines Johnson. I think Rabbi Shmuel.
I tell you, bro, it was either him or the wife. Him or the wife. That's what it was.
Lyndon B. Johnson came in and they was on some best friend shit.
Bruh.
Giving this man praise, telling everybody how pro-Israel he is.
You know what thing? Maybe Kennedy got the Israel vote in the first place is because of Lyndon B. Johnson.
He got knighted. Like,
man.
On some, like, you're appointed. Like,
oh, wow. Shout out to Golden.
And don't lead a
Golden for making me aware of this fascinating story. He's now quoting from an article by Morris Smith in the Five Towns Jewish Times. Lyndon Johnson's maternal ancestors, the Huffmans, apparently migrated to Frederick, Maryland from Germany sometime in the mid-18th century. Later, they moved to Bourbon, Kentucky, and eventually settled in Texas in the mid to late 19th century. The facts indicate that both of Lyndon Johnson's great-grandparents on the maternal side were Jewish. These were the grandparents of Lyndon's mother, Rebecca Baines. Their names were John S. Huffman and Mary Elizabeth Perrin. John Huffman's mother was Suzanne Ament, a common Jewish name. Perrin is also a common Jewish name. Huffman and Perrin had a daughter, Ruth Ament Huffman, who married Joseph Baines, and together they had a daughter, Rebecca Baines, Lyndon Johnson's mother. The line of Jewish mothers can be traced back 3 generations in Lyndon Johnson's family tree. There is little doubt that he was Jewish. Now, again, that is coming from Jewish sources. They will call that a conspiracy. I am
seem like there's always a connection.
And I was saying that his wife was Jewish. I didn't know the bro was Jewish him damn self. Huh. Well,
we can't always call it uncanny. We can't always call it a coincidence.
And
doesn't it seem like there's like a common denominator in a lot of these?
Him being Jewish is not bad.
It's not.
But him being Jewish during this economic time, during this whole, pro-Zionist movement.
And when you consider the potential connections
to the president's death is a big question. It's like, it's nuts.
That's when you got to look at it with a little bit of a questionable lens.
If it wasn't for that, him being Jewish, it doesn't matter. But now, due to the fact that a president is dead, it matters a lot.
Now you look bad.
Yeah. And I think that's what kind of far was. AIPAC was kind of going to like, bro, the Jewish sentiment in the United States is going to look bad because we kind of been undermining y'all and trying to push y'all into conflicts. And maybe those financial records would have proved it.
Not only that, but we're not going. Like, you trying to make us join, and we're just not going to do it. We're going to have our way.
Oh, wow.
I'm just telling you, these are the facts in terms of his assistance and being the greatest friend, the greatest presidential friend that Israel has ever had. Now, you're looking at the story, you're piecing it together, you're going, Lyndon B. Johnson is just one man. That's where my common sense goes. Okay, even if Lyndon B. Johnson was actually loyal to the state of Israel and he did have some familial Jewish ties, and his aunt, who he loved so much, Jessie Hatcher, was the one who brought him up and told him to do all these things. Even if you wanted to believe all of that, you would go, okay, but we're talking about the assassination of JFK, okay? That would require help and assistance from the state, the deep state, namely the CIA. Do we really think that they would have assisted in that sort of a scheme? Well, you should know that when JFK became president, the CIA had been active for about 14 years. It was created in 1947, so just months before the creation of the nation of Israel, with a signing by President Harry S. Truman of the National Security Act. And I would argue that the CIA is undoubtedly the most corrupt and murderous governmental entity in the world, and not just against people in the world, but also against the American people. Okay. MK Ultra, anybody? The experiments that they have conducted on our troops, on unsuspecting American citizens. And I want to be clear that as another point of concern for JFK during his presidency, he recognized the CIA's corruption.
Yeah, I mean, she makes a great point. Everybody knows, or everybody can probably admit, the CIA is low-key inherently corrupt. Think about all the conspiracies that surround the CIA, shrouded in corruption and secrecy, really.
Okay, so
all of its founding members.
Project Galileo, MK Ultra,
all these assassinations,
the directors doing the most shadiest of things. I mean,
staging coups in other countries.
I mean, transporting drugs in and out of other countries. Yeah, our CIA does a lot.
They do a lot.
And not for the benefit of us, I'll tell you that. I wonder who sometimes, though. I really do be wondering who.
Man.
Because this ain't helping us. I'll tell you that right now. That's why I do believe that. I remember they were trying to say on PBD that, well, we should disband the CIA. Well, oh, no, we shouldn't disband everybody. I'm like, why shouldn't we? I mean, bro, they've been doing bullshit for so many years. They've been nothing but a problem for so many years. And all they do is silence the American people or find ways to silence the American people or experiment on them. Why shouldn't we get rid of them and replace them with something that's more pro-American?
Pro-American, yeah.
Like the American Intelligence Service, not the Central Intelligence Service. So,
because who do they serve? For. Exactly.
It's like the American Intelligence Service should be able to tell us info that comes from around the world. And it should damn near be a newspaper that comes to us all the time so we know what's going on around the world. Like it or not.
Publish it and release it just like they have with these JFK files. True transparency. No more lying.
Mm-hmm. We know just as much as the general.
It is why he is quoted as saying that he wanted to scatter the CIA into the wind. He wanted to just completely get rid of the CIA because he understood that they were a corrupt body. And what you should know is that from 1953 to 1961, the CIA's director was Allen Dulles. Okay. He is an American, definitively not Jewish. Under his direction, the CIA engaged in all sorts of illegal covert operations. Like I said, most notoriously the MK Ultra program.
And this guy got fired by Kennedy. He got fired by Kennedy. And then guess what? This same guy was put on the Warren Commission. So the guy that fired him, I mean, the guy who
got fired by Kennedy was brought in by Lyndon B. Johnson
to investigate his death. Investigate the death of the guy who fired him. Bro. Oh shit. Bro, it did not make any sense what I was hearing.
Where they were interested in brainwashing people, creating Manchurian candidates. I mean, the most sinister stuff that you will ever read about. And you should get into those readings, especially if you're one of the people that has purchased Chaos. He was indeed a very sinister man. But is it plausible that there was somebody that he was taking orders from? Is it plausible that Allen Dulles, as he was doing all of these things at the CIA, may have been doing them because he was being blackmailed? Now, I'm saying that. I'm going to read you a shocking article that I think puts another huge piece of the JFK story together of who Allen Dulles was. Allen Dulles, by the way, also was in charge of the Warren Commission. So he was behind telling the public a ridiculous story about Lee Harvey Oswald. He did it. It's over. That's it. Total sham of a committee and a sham of a report. And it's very interesting when I give you this little tidbit of history that not many people know. But first, we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to speak to you guys about preborn.
I mean, shut up, preborn.
No, facts.
Saving babies. I mean, you got to respect anywhere to save babies.
Wanted to shatter the CIA into the wind. Okay, this is the New York Times, an excerpt of that. They were the one that published this in 1966. It reads, Kennedy's bitterness. And President Kennedy, as the enormity of the Bay of Pigs disaster came home to him, said to one of the highest officials of his administration that he wanted to splinter the CIA in 1,000 pieces and scatter it to the wind. Because
all right, you got that one?
Yeah, shout out Jordan in the Cedary. $2. He says, makes absolutely perfect sense, like TMC.
I'm weak as hell. I mean, I know. Let me take care of this guy. Time to out, bro. How about this? You could be banned. You can sit on your fingers like a bitch. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
The CIA was CIAing, trying to overthrow governments across the world. That's what we do, guys. That's what we do. Sorry to tell you if you thought that we were doing this in the interest of protecting Americans. It's just nothing you learned in history class is real. Okay. And JFK made Allen Dulles resign from the CIA following the disaster of the Bay of Pigs in Cuba. But like I said, surely Allen Dulles before that must have been his own man. Nobody could have been moving him, telling him to do all of these things at the CIA. Okay, stop everything, because I'm telling you that no, Allen Dulles was blackmailed. Okay. I gotta say,
Made sense. Because, bro, we always just say what was the main thing that I guess, well, when it came to the Epstein and we realized that Mossad and Israel had their connection there, it was like, okay, so blackmail and assassination, but really blackmail, because blackmail, you keep the guy alive and now they're in your back pocket. They couldn't do that with Kennedy.
That's true.
So
he had already pretty much made his position clear. Like, you guys are going to work with me. I'm not going to work with you. You're going to work with me.
But here's the thing, though. They probably couldn't get nothing on Kennedy, though. So that kind of goes to prove Kennedy had some good character.
Yeah.
But that boy, Ellen Dulles, I mean, look, bro, when you get blackmailed by these guys, it's kind of
some skeletons in the closet.
Yeah, and we already know. It's like, I'm kind of scared to wonder what they had on them, because either pedophile stuff or your wife was cheating or you're gay.
Yeah, something about these politicians. I mean, everybody has their vices, but man,
the politicians be having some crazy things, crazy stuff. To be clear, he said, to be clear, Thomas Matthews Crooks.
Okay, I was over here trying to figure out.
He's a man. Yeah, he made actual place saying, Thomas Matthews.
MK Ultra. I think, MK Ultra.
For sure. Because it's, bro,
nothing about that story makes sense.
Nothing, and it just screamed MK Ultra. It's like, bro, what did y'all do to this little kid to where y'all got him ready to take out the president? He's walking on to the site and everything. Everybody lets him go and just hops on there, mind controlled.
Takes a shot at the president. And nips his ear,
bro. And any rational kid, I mean, at his age, would be like, bro, this is a dummy mission.
What was he, 1920?
Yeah, like, bro, at 1920, you would be able to look at that and be like, yo, this is a dummy mission. I'm gonna die.
Right?
Why would I do this? Bro, heart pounding in chest. This kid did that shit like it was nothing.
Did it like he was experienced. Did it like he had done it before.
Bro,
it showed the training.
At 1920, bro, no way. No way.